You ever notice how everybody wants to be right, but hardly anybody wants to be understanding? We'll argue, debate, and fall out over what we call the truth, but the real truth is, most of us don't even want to find it. We just want to win the discussion, to prove a point, not to find the meaning. That's why conversations don't sound like conversations anymore. They sound like competitions. People don't listen to understand. They listen to respond. And once ego steps in, it's no longer about what's real. It's about who's right. But truth doesn't live inside one person's view. Truth lives between perspectives, in that space where understanding grows. Let me share a story with you. This story takes us back, all the way to the beginning of life and the creation of mankind itself. Follow closely, because if you really listen, you'll understand the depth of what this all means. Before time began, there was only the source, infinite, aware, and radiant. It didn't just carry truth. It was truth. But truth wanted to be known. So the source divided itself, not to separate, but to reveal. It became two entities, light particles and dark particles. Each light particle represented expression, what could be seen and felt. Each one carried a different piece of the source: wisdom, faith, reason, love, justice. Together they formed the visible reflection of truth. But the dark particles were different. They couldn't shine. They couldn't be seen, only felt. They watched the light get admired and began to feel forgotten and underappreciated. At first, it was just longing, wanting to matter. But over time, that longing turned into jealousy, and jealousy became something darker. They started thinking, if we can't shine, we'll make the light forget where its shine comes from. So the dark particles began to whisper, not in rage, but in reason and deception, called half-truths. Because when the source created light and dark, it gave each side only parts of the truth, and the dark twisted its part into pride, convincing each light particle that their portion was the whole. They whispered, "You don't need the others. Let your own light shine. You are the source." And one by one, the lights started believing it. They stopped shining together and started shining apart. The light of wisdom looked down on faith and said, "You trust too blindly. Knowledge is the only truth." Faith rejected reason, saying, "You question too much. Belief is the only truth." Love turned against justice, saying, "Your truth is too harsh." And justice fired back, "Yours is too soft." The more they argued, the dimmer they became. They stopped seeing each other as part of the same light and started believing they were the source. And the dark particles smiled, because they had won. See, the dark particles were unified in their half of truth, while the light particles were divided, because they were tricked into pride by the dark particles. The darkness didn't need to destroy the light, it just needed to divide it. And once the lights became individuals instead of reflections of the whole, they began to act just like the dark particles. They fought for power, for recognition, for what they thought was truth, never realizing they were fighting against the very source they came from. And that's the same illusion we live in today. Everybody's carrying a small piece of divine truth, but instead of connecting those pieces, we defend our fragments like they're complete. We argue faith against science, religion against reason, love against law, when all of them were meant to coexist. The darkness that deceived them still deceives us, telling us that standing alone makes us strong, when it really just keeps us divided. The source has been saying the same thing since the beginning, across every language, every scripture, every faith. The Bible, 1 Corinthians 13:12. Now we see only a reflection as in a mirror, then we shall see face to face. The Quran, 31:20. We show them our signs in the horizons and within themselves until it becomes clear to them that this is the truth. The Dhammapada, Buddhism 11. Those who see only appearances are like fish caught in a net, The wise see beyond the surface. The Rig Veda, Hinduism, 1.16, 4.46. Truth is one. The wise call it by many names. If you listen closely, they're all saying the same thing, just in different languages. Every soul holds a fragment of truth. Only when those fragments unite does the full reflection of the source appear. Truth has never been many, only seen many ways. Because whether you walk through a church, a mosque, a temple, or the quiet stillness of your own soul, the message never changes. Truth was never meant to be owned. It was meant to be understood. No one has a monopoly on truth, but the source, because truth expands with understanding, and the more understanding you bring into a situation, the more truth will build itself. And since understanding never stops growing, neither does truth. This is the quote room, where words wake minds. Some things don't need a reaction, just reflection. Just a few thoughts I had on my mind.